Okay, so I said I would make you a video about the Europa system air combat as opposed to the one that's used in the Narvik. Now, for regular Europa interception, you do not combine all of your bombers into waves and then add up their defense strength. In the Narvik system, for example, this would be like 6 to 15 or 2 to 5, which means that they would be attacking at a 1 to 3, which means likely not be able to shoot anything down. What happens here is you split your air units into two groups, one being the bombing mission force and one being the escort. So far, we're pretty much the same as in Narvik. But the escort, cannot become part of the mission force. It has to stay out here on its own. It is the escort screen. Now, when you intercept, in this particular case, only one air unit can intercept. You can make one or two choices. You can either attack the escort, and then once that combat, each side fires at each other once. So the British air unit would fire, the German air unit would fire, and then results are implemented. In this particular case, with the Beaufighter, you would have a +1, 6 attack strength to 5 defense strength. And you would come over to the air combat results table, look under the +1 column, and you see all the results. K is a kill, which means it's eliminated. A is an abort, which means it returns to base, but it is no longer operative. It must be repaired before it can be used again. And that is different from Narvik, because Narvik, abort meant the mission was aborted, it just returned to base. In this case, abort means go back to base, and it has to be flipped over to its inoperative side until such time as it is repaired. It's the same as the anti-aircraft result. And then return, you just go back to base. And all these results are implemented at the end of the round, after both sides have fired. So if the Beaufighter fires at the ME-109 and achieves an abort result, the ME-109 still gets to fire back. And then it goes back to base. Now, as per the rule, once they fire at each other, it's over. The Beaufighter goes back to base. So, if you're taking one interceptor out to face the escort, what would be the point of that? Well, the point is you're trying to eliminate your enemy's assets, and if you can get a kill result on this, that will force the Axis player to spend a replacement point if they have one, or if not, they'll have to wait for one for it to return. And in this given situation, since I haven't got fighters all the way up to the front, and I need airfields for them, that means any bombing missions would be unescorted, making them infinitely more dangerous with these fighters being able to intercept, because fighters get a -1 die roll modifier against Type B. That would be Type NB, Type HB, or just plain old Type B. Anything that is a bomber, not a dive bomber, but a bomber, suffers this penalty. The dive bombers, you just shoot at it as normal. their defense strengths are so low, you should be able to rack up lots of kills against them easily. The other option is to take this and try to bypass the escort screen to go on to attack the bombers directly. The escorts, being unengaged, get to shoot freely at the Beaufighter or any air unit that is bypassing the screen, and the results are implemented immediately. The bypassing aircraft does not get to shoot back at the escort because they are not engaging them. They do not get to shoot at the mission force because the escort prevented them from getting there. So, trying to bypass the screen can be a bit of a risky proposition. Now, let's say, for argument's sake, that these two Hurricanes could also intercept. In the game, they can't, but let's just say, for the sake of this example, that they can. So now you have 3 air units. You can choose to gang all 3 of them up on the single escort to try to eliminate it. Because effects are cumulative. If you get 2 returns, that equals an abort. 2 aborts equals a kill. An abort and a return, well, that just equals an abort. If you get 1 kill, you don't need to roll again. Everybody just heads on home. But you could do that. Or you could put 2 on the ME-109 and have 1 Hurricane bypass the screen. And it cannot be shot at because the escort is engaged. You could also fly 2 by. And again, the escort could not fire at it because it is engaged. Now, let's step back to this for a second. If you were to engage all 3 against this escort, the escort can fire at each one of these in response, whereas each air unit in the intercepting screen can only fire once. The defending escort can fire once at each air unit. Now, if there were more, and this doesn't allow me to clone, if there were more, let's say that there was a second escort here, and you would take this and you engage 1. Well, the second escort can turn around and it can choose to attack any one of the ones that are bypassing. And the catch there, I believe, let me look it up real quick. The catch there, I believe, is that the bypassing interceptors cannot fire back. So my quick research has confirmed that that is correct. A second escort or any escort firing at air units that are bypassing the screen cannot be shot at because the interceptors are not engaging the escorts. Once each side has fired once, and the way we used to play when we were first learning the system is that we would keep fighting until somebody gave or somebody got killed and knocked out of the sky. So sometimes it would take several rounds, but that is not the correct way to play. So any interceptors that get past and make it to the mission screen, you get to choose what air unit you want to attack. And you can only attack 1. And again, each one is defending individually. This is not a grand total of 15 defense points. It is 3 defense points each. So the Hurricanes would be at a +2. But they can only attack 1 air unit. And if they were to attack the bombers, again, they get the -1 on the die roll. Fighters can be very deadly to bombers, and the bombers have to fire with a +1 because they just don't do as much damage. Both sides, each air unit gets to fire at the other. So, in other words, you will make one roll per air unit to look at the chart. Once that is over, the interceptors return to their airbase in whatever shape the air results have them as, and then the surviving bombers proceed with the mission. Hopefully you can see, since you have experience with the Narvik system, you can see the difference and you can see how different this is from the Narvik system. So I am going to leave it to you. I'm going to give you another opportunity to intercept. If you choose not to this time, I will move on tomorrow. But just let me know, because the only way that you're going to really get experience with it is just to do it. And like I said, right now you're fighting a battle one-dimensionally. You basically just ignored your air component. And you really have to go through and look at all the different missions that are available to you to try to determine how best to use your Air Force. You know, I've been using it to tear up this rail line because I'm anticipating that at some point you're going to start knocking me backwards. Although I'm going to do my best to prevent that from happening, I'm hoping that I will get my Panzers back before too long and can reinforce the line, but I'm anticipating being knocked back, so I'm destroying the rail line as much as possible. So that you can't slide your reinforcements down to Matruh or your supply all the way down to Matruh for free. I'm trying to force you to use up your SMPs. So anyway, I will wait to hear back from you tomorrow, and like I said, whatever you decide, I will move forward with it.